me make this clear up front. Borderlands 3 is a horribly written game, and comparing it to classic American literature is extremely unfair to that said bad, horribly written game. But to be honest, someone's gotta do it, and it might as well be me. In my recent review of Gearbox Software's latest looter shooter, I touched on how Borderlands 3's script replaced the charmingly juvenile sense of humor of its predecessors with eye-rollingly stupid infantile jokes and what is supposed to pass as comedy, I guess. Even worse, the abysmal script and dialogue highlight how the player lacks immediate agency in the narrative. Save for the opening cutscene, most in-game cinematics meant to advance the plot actively exclude your character, which means we're forced to watch the game's witless, irritating characters from the sideline instead of actively participating. Put me in the game, coach! Non-immediate player agency doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing in video games. After all, Borderlands 2 was structured in a similar manner, and that game is awesome. While yes, our playable hero was a glorified camera with legs when it came to the main plot, that worked. Borderlands 2 is an absolutely bonkers style of game, and the minimal story interaction allowed the player to be voyeurs of a mad world filled with mayhem, explosions, and dick jokes. In Borderlands 2, Gearbox took the inherent weakness of being a non-interactive character in the story and turned it into a strength. What Borderlands 2 did was actually very similar to many books in classic American literature. And I'm not just talking about any books, I mean meaty novels that make up the average high school curriculum like The Great Gatsby and Moby Dick. The narrators and point of view characters in The Great Gatsby and Moby Dick, which are Nick Carraway and Ishmael respectively, aren't the main characters of the novels themselves. In fact, they comparatively play a minor role in the story proper, but are essentially akin to being a literary rendition of a walking and talking camera actively recording the exploits of what is going on in the narrative. In terms of The Great Gatsby, Nick Carraway documents Gatsby and the Roaring Twenties lifestyle, and in Moby Dick, Ishmael records Captain Ahab's quest to hunt a Leviathan-sized whale. Good fucking luck with that. The whole point of these characters are to be the reader's point of view. It's as if they're a form of documentation, like they're the ones documenting the story and the plot and the characters and the themes and what is all going on. And in Borderlands 2, Gearbox Software did show that that style of narration and point of view can work in a video game very well if done correctly. However, the style of The Great Gatsby and Moby Dick style storytelling doesn't work in Borderlands 3 because the stuff that our Nick Callaways and Ishmaels are documenting is witless and painfully annoying. A cutscene a few hours into Borderlands 3 highlighted the game's narration problem. So the basis of the scene is that a fan-favorite character, Lilith, gets hurt and is defeated by the Calypso twins, and the twins suck Lilith's siren powers from her, transforming her into a regular human without siren abilities. It's a rare good scene in the game that showcases that the Calypso twins mean business and need to be taken down. While Lilith is in trouble, the player fights off some henchmen, and at this part I was engaged with the game more so than any other time I was playing Borderlands 3. I was angry because Lilith is awesome and I didn't want her to be hurt. At this part, I really thought to myself, wow, this might be where Borderlands 3 finally gets good. But in reality, the joke was on me. So you get to Lilith and save her. Despite her being powerless, she is safe, and I'm pumped. I'm committed to going after these fucking dipshit Calypso twins up until a crime against storytelling happened. Lilith just brushes this event off like it's no big deal. Like she got her power sucked out. She is literally a regular person now in terms of her abilities, and she literally walks it off and smiles at you. And for the rest of the game that I've played up to anyway, which is level 26, she just shrugs it off. Like, no, you were violated. You shouldn't just shrug this off. You should be angry. Like, remember Roland's death in Borderlands 2? Like, come on. Like, Lilith should be inconsolable right now. Like, that would really motivate me to, like in the terms of the narrative, to want to kick their asses. But no, the game doesn't really go anywhere interesting with this. It just drops this, golden egg of character and player motivation and just does nothing with it. Lilith just treats, being violated as if it was a flesh wound in Monty Python. And after that scene, I felt like such an idiot. For the only time during my playthrough of Borderlands 3, I was emotionally invested in the story for a few minutes before coming to the stunning realization that Borderlands 3 didn't deserve the respect of my undivided attention. Like, no, don't just walk it off, Lilith. This isn't a normal wound. Lilith should be emotionally hurt right now, which would make the player really want to get these Calypso twin assholes. Like, her very being was violated, and she needed to show some emotion here. Fuck! If a game is like Moby Dick or The Great Gatsby, and is much more of a documentation, camera with legs style narrative, there has to be a good surrounding narrative to justify that creative decision. Unfortunately, Borderlands 3 doesn't have a narrative worthy of being a part of. As stated in the review, when it comes to FPS mechanics, it's a fine game. It's like eating air or plain bag of potato chips. But when it comes to just being a good story, it falls flat horribly. It didn't reel me in, and I was sadly left wanting, which is why I haven't even bothered to beat the game yet. See ya.